Wendy Ologe is the foremost parent coach in Africa, who believes that her calling to parents will change the next generation of people in Africa. She is the founder of the Intentional Parent Academy, a coaching outfit dedicated to equipping parents and intending parents to intentionally raise their children positively, especially in the face of our decaying societal values. She believes that parenting isn't about tips and hacks, but a process that walks a child through the 18 years of their lives with the parent as a guide. The Intentional Parent Academy runs several programs and courses and helps parents to run through a process of raising their children intentionally. These include the famous Inner Circle program for parents, the TIP Summit, and the TIP Annual Conference. She is the author of many best-selling parenting books, including Connect to Correct, Walking Your Child Through Puberty, The Discipline That Works, From Yelling to Calm, Sex Educate Your Child Like a Pro, and 15 other parenting guides. She also runs an online community on Facebook called The Intentional Parent, with over 100,000 members as at today. Through this community in 2019, Wendy represented Africa at the Facebook Global Parenting Panel in their headquarters in California, United States of America. Wendy has spoken on many stages, including being interviewed by the Christian Broadcasting Network, CBN Africa, on their famous TV program, The 700 Club. Wendy is also the first African and Nigerian to sit on the board of the International Day of Calm. In 2020, she was named one of the top female coaches in the world by the Divine Purpose magazine, United States of America. She is also the executive director at Smart Office, a corporate organization with a focus on developing businesses through capacity building. Her work experiences include over 10 years of experience in USAID leading projects. She also has experience in the banking sector. She likes to refer to her husband as the governor and a god. Their union of over 13 years is blessed with 2 biological children and 1 foster daughter.
Hello, good morning, and it's Sex Educate Your Child Like a Pro. Yes, we do this like a pro. It is so exciting to be here. This will be the Sex Educate Your Child Like a Pro 2.0. It is my honor to lead over 3,000 parents on this journey. I want to tell you today that I am excited and I feel greatly honored to be part of your intentional parenting journey. And that introduction was just all it is about me. And we're going to go straight into the conversation of the day. Today, we're looking at the conversation on age-appropriate sex. And as you know, all of these sessions are for 60 minutes in all of the days. So all you need to do, even if you're not here live, all you need to do is to come and catch replay. I'm sure the team must have given you all of the details that you require. Please, you can always use the same link to be able to catch replay of these sessions. Welcome here again. I am pretty very much excited. You don't even know how excited I am today to have you all here. All right, so one of the things that I would like you to take a look at in this module is, how sex is being, out there, how sex has become a culture. Okay, so we live in a culture that that is sex saturated, but saturated with a wrong view of sex. So it simply means that if you are not there to actually influence, all right, your children over, sex conversations, the world will give them the theory that they have. And I like how my friend, one of my very close friends, says it. A few days ago, we were having a conversation and she said, parenting is not for loafers. She's right here. And that's the word. It's not for loafers. Parenting is for you to actually get serious on the job. I want you to get set, get a book, get a paper, get a pen, so that you can put a lot of all the insights that we're, going to be sharing here with you, or the book and the paper. Now, believe it or not, sex sells. Somebody help me write that in the comment section. Sex sells is a selling point, and children are the target audience. Children are the target audience. So they are constantly bombarded with sexual messages. Take a look at what you watch every day: the TV, the music, the internet, the billboard. Take a look at it. You will see how much sex is embedded all over us. I was watching the advert, the mini-me advert. In case you live in Nigeria, there's a mini-me advert that talks about, mini-me, come and take and eat and all of that. And then he had someone who is actually half naked. Now, that advert is targeted at children. All right? So that is just it. Whether you agree with me or not, sex is a selling point. All right? And many children swallow these things and believe there is a doorway to happiness because we don't teach otherwise. No doubt about it. People of all ages are excited about sex. Every single one. Because we are all created a sexual being. Your child doesn't have to be a victim of what I call the cultural influences. If your parenting game is tight, there's something that I call the parenting advantage. Last week in July, we're actually hosting a conference, and the theme is the parenting advantage. What advantage would your child have because you raised them? What advantage would your child have over the next child who is being programmed in a certain way? Now, I'm going to share with you some of the disempowering teachings you must undo before we go on, this conversation about sex and if we must get it right. For the record, we have had a Sex Educate Your Child 1.0. And Sex Educate Your Child 1.0 is a different curriculum. You might want to go, get a replay of Sex Educate Your Child 1.0. It's a whole new, level for this, okay? Number one, disempowering teaching that you must undo: private parts and public part. You must have heard me say that there is nothing like private part and public part. Don't teach that. Every part of your child's body is private to them. It's disempowering to tell your child that part of their body is private and part is public. I tell you why. When you tell a child that there's a part that is public, that means it's allowed and is accessible to everybody, without putting into consideration that sexual feelings don't even start in what we call the private parts. Sexual feelings don't start with the genitals. Sexual feelings actually start before you get to the genitals. So someone can touch, all right? Someone can touch your child on the hands and you'll be sexual. Every one of us. So when you teach that, when the time for your child to be empowered, it disempowers your child, because by the time your child can say no to whatever it is that is happening to them, they will be overwhelmed by the emotions and by the feelings that will come to them. Number two, stranger means danger is a disempowering teaching. When you teach your children that stranger means danger, you disempower them. You need to teach your children how to discern instead. Because it's been recorded that 90% of the time, the people who abuse children are the people who actually know the child. So when you tell the child that what you need to do is to feel comfortable with people you know and feel uncomfortable with people you don't know, then you disempower them. Because think about it. Everybody who's been molested has been molested by either an uncle, a family friend, whoever around you. It is very rare to find a stranger who would actually, very, very rare, to actually put your child in harm's way. So when you teach stranger danger, when your child actually might really need a stranger to help, that might actually disempower your child. You need to teach your children. We're going to be looking at that skills on the day 4, where I'm going to be teaching you about the 10 self-concept in sex conversations. I will be able to actually put it together, all right, to help you understand it, the way that I am sharing it with you. Number 3, when you teach, and I also, want to say that stranger, it comes with a lot of safety education. Of course, this class is not about safety education, but every single parent who is in the inner circle understands when I say about, talk about safety education. Number 3, feelings are bad. Feelings are not bad. When we teach our children, when a child comes and says, I feel that I like this person. When I see this person, there's a way my body does me. And then you shut the child down and demonize sex. You will lose the essence of this conversation. The idea is for you to understand that your child can feel, and you can help your child with their feelings and redirect them. Number 4, teach more do's instead of don'ts. Don't. Your child's brain cannot interpret the don'ts. So we are constantly telling our children what they shouldn't do. Don't allow anybody to touch your private part. Don't. What is that other thing that they should be doing? These are the conversations. The next one, take away the use of fear to teach sex conversations, because fear is an inappropriate language of instruction. When I get into the laws of sex conversation, I will share more on that. The next one, if I teach my children about sex, I will take about their innocence. That is not true. It is also disempowering. When you teach your children, about sex, it is not what takes away their innocence. No. Innocence is not about knowledge, it's about attitude. Someone can help me write that. Innocence is not about knowledge, it's about attitude. Let's go. Boys don't necessarily need sex conversations. That's another disempowering teaching. It's disempowering to actually teach your child, your daughter, you're a girl. Purity is only for girls. Make sure you keep yourself. Boys don't really have these things, working for them. It's disempowering. You sound hypocritical when you present that kind of teaching to your child, especially your daughters. The next one, never demonize sex conversation. Sex is not bad. Sex is not bad. In fact, God created sex, and sex is a good thing. The moment you come from the angle that sex is bad, you lose the conversation that we're about to have. Do not teach your children that the moment that they have sex, they get pregnant. That is you instilling fear. Fear doesn't work for the puberty brain. We're going to get in there as we progress on this conversation. Their brain is not cognitively developed enough to think big pictures and work down the worst case scenario. So when you teach that, it doesn't help your child, it disempowers them. So these are some of the disempowering teachings that I've seen that are very obvious in our climb, and I needed to also, put it out there so that you can work with it as a start point as we go further. Now, the law, what I call the law of sex conversations. For the record, everything I share here, it is a curriculum built by the academy. Put it on Google, you won't find law of sex conversations anywhere. Many children, I talked about sex. Your child doesn't have to be a victim of cultural influences. You can make a difference. Number 1, the law of first mention. the law of first mention. There's something called the law of first mention. That law states that the person who mentions sex to your child first would have influence, more influence over that child more than any other person. Now, when we talk about the law of first mention, I usually tell parents, it is required that you are the very first person to teach this. It gives your child some kind of confidence. You know, children were asked, teenagers, who would you have preferred to learn about sex first? They said their parents, but they are never available to avail that information. So many of the times, by the time your child, begins to learn about sex, when you come with your own, the child is like, duh, I've heard it somewhere else. And many times you come with this conversation without honesty, and they found the answers everywhere. The law of first mention. So you must be the first person who would start having these conversations with your child. Number 2, the law of the mind. The law of the mind states in sex conversation that the mind is the biggest sex organ. That's why I tell you that when you teach private part and public part as sex organs and all of that, you miss it. The mind is the biggest sex organ ever. If you can control the mind, then you have control over your sexual desires. So the law of the mind, you need to understand that there's a law of the mind when it comes to your conversation. How are you getting to the mind of your child? How are you, looking at the mind to renew the mind, to put the mind in such a place that the mind can think positively? That's the control. Control for sex comes from the mind, because the mind is the biggest sex organ. Number 3, the law of family values. The law of family values. You are the most powerful influence in your child's life, even though it doesn't seem so. But you cannot do this by assumption. In a school of sex conversation, the faculty is you. This is why he needs you to talk with him honestly, knowledgeably, and structurally. I say that sex education must be had honestly. In all honesty, you must have knowledge to deliver on it, and you must structure it. The law of family values. Many of the times, a lot of us assume family values. We assume that we have it. Oh, I know my child knows the child of who I am, or the family, kind of family they come from. Many times we assume parenting. I've said often that parenting is not an assumption trial. A lot of us do trial and error in parenting. There are no structures. There are no systems. There are no systems. You don't put all of that together. You just parent on the go. On the go. When you get into the Inner Circle program, which is the 1-year program we run in the academy, all right? And one of the first things we make you do is to craft a family value. Some of us even would have to give our children to, go through it. So it's not just about crafting it. We also embed it in the system, that we craft, connection and all of that while we are also having these conversations. What family values do you have? Or are your children going to be carried away with all of the things that is out there because there is no direction? Where there is no direction, of course, everybody goes anywhere. Have you ever seen somebody who wakes up and says, I'm going to a journey, and does not know the destination? Many families do not know where they are going. Many families do not have a mission. They don't have a vision. They don't have values. So your children also do not know where your family is going. So if you have a family, one of the first things you want to do is to understand where you are going, and this will come from you. The law of family values. Your children are going to reproduce for you whatever it is that they see in the system of the family. Now, you might want to start your journey with crafting your family value. We'll have a guide that can help you in our store. We will share that, later on. Number 4, the law of caution instead of fear. The law of caution instead of fear. Sex conversation is about caution. Sex conversation is built to empower. Sex conversation is not built to disempower. When you use fear, you disempower your child to what it is, because nobody learns in the atmosphere of fear. So you want to understand that this is not a conversation of fear. This is a conversation of caution. So I say, share caution instead of fear. The law of knowledge. The law of knowledge states that you can only give what you have. You can't give what you do not have. What knowledge do you have about sex conversation? What are you going to be giving your child? Many of the times, some of the conversation we're going to having is gender confusion. We're having that with Ebuka tomorrow. Pornography and gender confusion. Many of us don't even understand what is happening in the world. The law of knowledge. What do you know? Then we have the law of honesty. Trust states that trust is the biggest currency in sex conversation. You cannot have sex conversation if your child doesn't trust you. How do you build trust? You build trust. You don't force trust. You don't force people to trust you. You influence people to trust you. Unfortunately, our parenting game is full of, a lot of force, a lot of, screaming, a lot of shouting, a lot of beating, and all of that. But the law of honesty states that you need to create trust for you to be able to have this conversation. This conversation is about trust. And I said, trust is the biggest currency in sex conversation. The law of culture, which is the last one. The law of culture. There is the influence of culture in anything that you do. What culture is around you? What are you doing to be able to create a system? The law of culture. There will be a lot of influence from the environment that you are raising your child. And you must put that into consideration when you are having this conversation. Your conversation when you live in Abuja might not be the same conversation when you live in England, might not be the same conversation when you live in the same methodology, the principles are the same. It might not be the same methodology when you live in the village. What is the culture of the environment that you are having this conversation? My friend is here. She's a barrister. And we were talking about, So we're talking about, something in the neighborhood of the law of culture recently. And, she was trying to analyze someone who grew up in a certain environment and why what happened to the child. Many of the times, we do not take into consideration the culture we are raising our children in. And this is a huge determining factor when it comes to the kind of conversations that we have with our children. So you must understand that all of this will influence the kind of conversation you're having today. So you need to go back to all of this later and then put a lot of this in perspective, create these structures on all of the laws while we go. So these laws will be your kind of anchor. While we go through the processes, you can create your own culture, for instance, for the records. You can create, even if you're in a place where you don't understand and the culture is not enabling, you can create a system that enables you to create that structure. So it starts first with even understanding what you are faced with. And we're done with the first part. Now, we're looking at the age-appropriate sex conversation guide. Many of the time, people come to me and say, so when you're looking at this age-appropriate, please consider the laws. The laws will give you a footing to be able to have these conversations. Many people come to me and say, when do you start sex conversation? At what point? The moment you have a child, sex conversation have started. Now, what are the must-have lists? Must-have lists, all right, on what you must do when it comes to, when it comes to this conversation. Number one, your must-have list is open lines of communication. You must open the lines of communication. A key factor in raising children who you actually want to sex educate the way you want it, the rule of thumb is that you need to discuss sex, is to keep the conversation simple, keep it ongoing. The first step is to make sure that your child, really, really want to, grasp what the purpose of sex is, what God had to say about it. It doesn't have to be complicated. In fact, it needs to be simple enough for your child, no matter the age, to be able to understand. All right? It's very important. One of the things that I have shared with my children who are teenagers, all right, in a few months, I shared with them that human beings did not create sex. God did. I shared with them that since God created sex, He's the one who understands it best. I shared with them that since God understands sex better, a person who wants to have great sex, and why would anyone want to have sex that is not great, needs to know what God says about sex. What does God have to say about sex? According to my own principles, because sex conversations must be shared according to your principles. If you believe that sexual purity is not a thing, then that's where you share it from. But do not complicate or confuse your child. So according to my principle, which states that sex is a marriage. So, and that's what I have seen in my own holy book. I have shared that with my children. Once they are clear about the purpose and God's view of sex, then you can begin to incorporate all of the information. Number two, relationship. That's another must-have. Many of us don't have any relationship with our children. There's a study that states that teenagers who feel highly connected to their parents and report that their parents are warm, caring, and supportive are far more likely to delay sexual activities than their peers. Another unrelated study found that close relationship with parents seem to discourage children from sexual activities. You want to look at that. What is your relationship with your child? When you get into the inner circle, one of the very first things we help you, we make you do at all right, is that we begin to help you build relationship. Now, relationship is not I love my child. They know I love me. No. That's not relationship. Do you know? I love my child is not a parenting strategy. I've heard quite a number of parents, share with me, oh, I just love my child. I know what I'm doing. No. That's not a parenting strategy. Parenting is planned. So when people ask me about parenting and they say there's no manual, there is a manual in parenting. The manual is what you craft from your knowledge bank. Every one of us are parenting with a manual, whether we agree with it or not. Some of us are parenting with the manual that is just anyhow. Some of us are parenting with the one that our parents have parented us with. Nothing has changed. Some of us are parenting with a well-taught, crafted manual. Intentionality is what gives you a probable result. Probability gives you an anyhow kind of result. Relationship. How much relationship do you have with your child? Now, relationship is not permissive parenting. Don't get it wrong. I know that so many people are listening to me. A relationship is not you wearing uniform with your child and behaving like a teenager. That's not relationship. We're talking about something a lot more deeper. All right? So you can love your child and still kill your child because you do not have the prerequisite knowledge to be able to give your child what is required. So I love my child is not enough. I love my child is not a parenting strategy. Boundaries and supervision. Number 3, your parenting must have boundaries. For this conversation to work, your children must be held accountable. I have often said that any child that is not held accountable is up to disgrace themselves, including you as well. Because parenting failure comes first to the parent and the child, and then before even the society. So when I say boundaries, so you're creating, I've seen parents who are Ken wielders, but they don't have boundaries. So hitting a child, jumping up and down is not creating boundaries. You can create boundaries that are very strong. Your children held accountable. I was teaching the parents in the inner circle, all right? Teaching the parents in the inner circle about responsibility and raising children who are accountable. If you do not hold your children accountable and you're just jumping up and down, you will lose them, because nobody thrives on what I call no accountability. Nobody. Anybody who is who is thriving. I'm not talking about just raising a child and just growing. No. So boundaries, supervision. That's one of the things that makes you a parent. Allowing your children do whatever they want, it's not the conversation. All right. So whenever people hear me say you don't need to hit a child, they run off with a narrative and say, oh, all these people that are saying don't beat a child. My children understand boundaries. My children are so accountable. And yet, I don't parent with wielding the cane. But they understand it. They get it. Many of us wield cane, and yet there's no boundaries in our parenting. The children wake up, do whatever they want, how they want it. You need to create boundaries. The next one is that you must, create a system of faith. What does your faith say? What does your faith say? There's a study that a group, or in particular study, when that 16% of American teens who describe religion as extremely important in their lives, actually delay sex longer than the others. Faith. Now, faith is not taking your child to church. Forget about all of that. If you're hypocritical, your faith is not going to work. There's more to faith than just shouting God forbid. And that's not faith either. There's more to it. There are a lot of things I would like to teach. I have only 1 hour for this thing. But of course, we teach quite a lot. I'm sure that as I'm speaking, the parents in the academy, in the inner circle, have a broader understanding of exactly, how I'm entering all of these bushes. So I will try to, stay on course so I don't also confuse you. Then the 5% factor. The 5% factor, what I call the 5% factor, rather than sharing the statistics and creating fear for your children and saying, no, when you hear 90% of 9 in 10 of children have had sex, hey, you shake, you go to your child, you scream, oh, they said 90% of children, oh, and all of that, you get scared. That's not the conversation. I want you to lose the 5% rule. So what if your child knows that the truth is that 95% of the children have sex outside of marriage, and it's fine? Yes, it happens. And that most Christian children are also going to have, sex and all of that. But there's a 5%. And you can share the 5% and explain to them why the 5% can be part of it. So instead of demonizing and trying to scare your child and all of that, share the positives. And then begin to find out what are those things that the 5% had done to be able to get to where it is that they are. I hope you're following. I hope you're having a good understanding of this class. If you are, let me see your comment in the comment section, and or let me see you share your favorite emojis. All right, I like the fire emojis. The inner circle parents already know that. Okay, if you're here, please share your best emojis. Is it worth it? We've done halfway through this class. Is it worth your time? All right, I hope you're learning something new. I hope you're learning something new, and it's worth your time. Let me see your comments in the comment section. Before we go to the next section, which is the appropriate sex conversation that you must have with your child. Appropriate sex conversation that you must have, age required sex conversation you must begin to have with your children, because sex conversation must be had according to age factor. All right. I can see quite a number of bars right on, in the comment section. Thank you so much for being here. I really do not take for granted that you are my audience today. I feel really, really, really empowered. All right. So let's move. Let's move. All right. Let's move. Let's move. And like I said, let me say that again. Parenting is not for loafers. All right. Parenting is not for loafers. If you're just here to just loaf around, believe you me, then you're not ready for this job. This job requires a whole lot of things. And remember that when we finish this conversation, we want you to talk about the Sex Educate Your Child Like a Pro on your social media handles, on the group, tag us, tell us what you've learned, so that we can also encourage people that learning is very key. Now let's go. So I know how hard it is to have sex conversation if you haven't started. And if you're just starting, I'm also going to give you the book, the 30 days on how to sex educate your child like a pro using age-appropriate conversations. So I'm going to be sharing this book with you by tomorrow. The team is working on it so that it could be, it's a book that, you would enjoy and all of that, read through and all of that. All right. In the Inner Circle program, part of what has helped parents is to structure their parenting journey. As in, they structure, the parenting journey, including conversations like sex. It has helped them to implement it. Believe you me, if you finish listening to me and you don't put this conversation structurally, you will not be able to move forward. So we have created this structure to provide you with practical, step-by-step, appropriate sex conversation and how to begin. And let me say this to you. We've been on this journey. There are parents in level 3, who are on this journey, who have done Sex Educate Your Child over and again. There is always something. We are constantly reviewing. My friends and I sit down and constantly review what we're doing, regarding sex conversation. And I'm also rebuilding every time. We already have the sex conversation, Sex Educate Your Child Like a Pro book, the volume 1. You might want to, get in that. How do you use the guide? You need to choose this conversation with your child when it will happen. There is a timing. You need to choose a convenient location when the child is relaxed. Then you need to create a time frame for this conversation. And in that guide, I have put the different age group and their attention span. I have found that quite a number of parents they don't pay attention to the age span of their children. A 2-year-old can never give you more than 6 minutes when it comes to attention span. So you need to put that into consideration. I've put a guide that can help the age group and the attention span of your child so that you can create a system that helps you. Your conversation must be age appropriate and simple. And that's why this guide is here for you. Always remember to listen more than you speak. Using values will help your sex conversation a lot. So for each age group, we have provided an overview of the goals that you seek to accomplish and the strategies you need to accomplish the goals. Start today, even if your child is 1 day old. Today, for every session, prepare for it. Go through this guide, like this one that you're reading, this book we're going to be sharing with you. Go through you walking your child through puberty if you have the book, or Sex Educate Your Child. All right? Sex Educate Your Child Like a Pro. Remember, do not let shame and fear keep you from educating your child appropriately, because it's been proven that the best sex education is the one that a parent gives to the child. Now, let's look at the age-appropriate sex conversations. Sex conversation, again, begins a day a child is born and continues throughout the life stages to adulthood, 0 to 3. What are the goals? Number one, the number one goal you're going to be having at 0 to 3 is create an atmosphere of emotional security at home. That's the first place. How do you do that? Now, this guide that I've created, I've shared strategies. So I am not one to say this is what you need to do without giving you the steps to take. The parents in the inner circle will attest to that. So when I say you need to do this, I go, further to show you how exactly you need to do it. You need to start by caring for your child's physical needs. You need to start by ensuring the father and the mother are actively involved at this stage. So when one parent is unavailable and you're single parenting, you have a child that is a baby, you need to find a role model even at that level. Because taking part in the child's life with both parents, all right, it's actually been said that it predicts safety for the child. Number two, another goal for this stage is working on establishing parent-child connection. You need to use calm, affirmative smiles for the child at this stage, like frequently repeating memorable songs of praises. Let your child see mom and dad being affectionate towards each other, even at a baby, 0 to 3. Create a structured connection time with your child. Now, in the inner circle, one of the things we do is that we have a timetable. So nothing is left to chance. We have a timetable where every day there's something to do with your child to create a connection. It's part of sex conversation. Number three, you need to start the first step of self-identity. This is where gender confusion is dispelled. It's at this level. At this level, you need to create an affirmation in few words that tells your child who they are. While you're holding your child, speak positive affirmation. Use simple affirmations like, I love that you are a girl like mommy. I love that you are a boy like daddy. Affirm the child by highlighting small similarities between him and the same sex, like wearing the same color with the parent. For boys, at about 18 months, they need to experience a male figure through a one-on-one play, an outing, because it would be great if this is their dad, but if it's not their dad, please find somebody to replace it. See, let me say something to you. There's a difference between male and female. Don't get it twisted. Don't even get into this toxic masculinity that we're sharing today. A man is different. A woman is different. And that's where your sex conversations start from. So you need to affirm your child. And that's a very key part. Number 4 goal, you need to begin to teach proper names for genitals. Call names by their name. And Tetima will say, my friend, who is the foremost teens coach in Africa, she's here. And let me also say, no matter what it is you think you know, learning is continuous. I have my friends who are coaches, who've been in the inner circle for years. They're here. They are learning, all right, every day. She will say, why you are afraid to call the name, but the world is not afraid to call the name. So you hide the name and your child is going to be hearing it everywhere. Call them by their names. When giving your toddler a bath, ensure that you make emphasis in this area, and then why that part of the body must be kept safe. Teach the body parts that distinguishes them from their brother. That's where gender confusion teachings start. Protect the child from abuse and abusive experiences. Teach them that no one is allowed to touch any part of their body without permission. It doesn't matter. I tell my children, I say, nobody is allowed to look at you in a sexualized manner. If they do, please, you're uncomfortable, speak out. It is part of sex conversation. Sex conversation is not about the mechanics of sex. It's not about penis into vagina, no. Sex conversation is a lot much more. For your girl child, we're going to do that on Thursday. For your girl child, if you're not teaching self-esteem, then you're not teaching sex conversation. For your boy child, if you're not teaching self-control, then your sex conversation is not working. So there's more to sex conversation. Teach self-control intentionally. At this level, that's where you start doing the marshmallow experiment. to begin to help your children process delayed gratification. You can play games that require impulse control. A lot of our children are put on screens at this age. Meanwhile, they shouldn't be on screen. This erodes the ability to self-control. And this is a key factor, is a base to when it is that you're going to begin this conversation later on, when you go into the other parts. Read books about self-control and how to handle these feelings. Buy books. Create a structure. Stop giving excuses why you would not invest in parenting and books. You need it. Model self-control as a parent. Number 7 goal for this age group. You need to establish your family values. Create a family value system and teach your child how to internalize it. You can get a guide on family value system and work on it from your own family. The principles are the same. The methodology is what differs. Number 8, begin to establish self-expressions. There's something I call self-expressions. When the children are teenagers, they want to self-express. But we do not even teach them how to self-express positively. So when they become teenagers, they self-express in a way that you might not necessarily like. Part of self-expression could be that they wear a certain kind of clothes, that they behave a certain kind of way. If you want to actually get a grasp of this, you establish it from now. Establish the values on dressing, establish the values, on feeling chat, how they express themselves. Participate in dancing. Dancing is a form of self-expression. Teach your children to sing. Get them to play Play-Doh. That way they are expressing their art using Play-Doh, what it is that they actually want to do and how they are thinking, even at that age. Get them to draw randomly. It doesn't matter what they are drawing. Paint mercilessly. It doesn't matter what they are painting. It's part of teaching your children self-expressions and how to self-express positively. Encourage your toddlers to recount an incident that will help them express themselves. Number 9, you need to establish media. How media is used in your home. A lot of us, media is used anyhow. Create a family media. You can use the family media guide in our store. We have over 18 guides, that can help you structure your parenting. So in my home, for instance, there are programs that my children are never going to tune to, because from day one, there was an established media system. You don't watch. Everything is not for you. Everything is not for me. Everything is not for everybody. So when the media serves you trash, you sieve from what it is that is important in your home. Start porn conversation, 0 to 3. Explain the difference between good pictures and bad pictures. Report to an adult when you come in contact with a bad picture. Let your children understand where the pictures can be seen. Let them know that reporting a bad picture will not put them in trouble. Very key. Play-Doh. Somebody is asking what's Play-Doh. 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 Play-Doh is something you use to, mold and, fix. Children is like a plaything. All right. If you put it on Google, you're gonna find it. The last one, create a parenting plan. All right. You need to create a parenting plan. Now, your parenting plan to prepare your child on how to navigate adulthood. And your parenting plan starts from 0. When I hear parents who have newborns or who are about to have a new baby, and they say, "Oh, I've not started my parenting journey, I'm going to start later," I smile. Because you have an advantage, all right, if you actually start early. From ages 3 to 7, you now begin to refer to the goals that you have finished from 0 to 3. I'm giving you a solid template. You're not going to find it anywhere. And trust me, this is going to be, after Sex Educate, of course, we're going to put it out, to be sold in hard copies and all of that. So you should, this course actually is coming to you at no fee. In fact, you're owing us, because the book is worth more than 3.5. So you're owing us money if there is anything. So you didn't pay for the course. All right. So establish a system that will teach your children self-discipline. Provide structure in your home, schedule routines, shape behaviors one step at a time. Teach problem-solving skills, model self-discipline. Another goal for this age is to teach privacy is to teach respect and to teach boundaries. You need to reaffirm that the body belongs to them, not mommy, not daddy, not auntie. You need to reaffirm respect for people. I see a lot of your children, somebody is in your house. Your child goes and picks up their phone because for you, the child is just 3. That's a failed parenting system in itself. Failed parenting system. That shouldn't ever happen. At age 3, your child must understand boundaries, respect, privacy, very key. Teach appropriate and inappropriate touch at this stage. I'm going to rush over this. Teach them about other non-touching forms of sexual abuse. Start a structured conversation on pornography. Re-emphasize and review your media plan intermittently. Start talking about touching themselves, because this is where it starts. Because curiosity starts from here. They touch themselves, watch others touch themselves. You begin to have these conversations with them. Teach them about feelings from now and what they should do with them. Unfortunately, we demonize feelings. We demonize feelings and we tell them, if you feel like this. A child at this stage has started crushing over somebody. I had a crush at primary 2. And if you think back, many of you did. So all those Mary Amaka hypocrisy kind of parenting, I don't get it. Oh, in my time, I never did, is a lie. Many of these things happen to us. All right. Very, very important. You need to develop self-protection from abuse. Teach them what they must know about pedophiles, the predators. Treat them, make it an ongoing conversation. Another goal is to create strategies to teach self-esteem. You need to use valuable items as illustration. So you're going to see all of the strategies in the book. Then you need to deepen the process of emotional awareness. You need to start teaching the ability to say no. You need to create opportunity for your children to say no to you intentionally. Many of us, our children cannot say no to us. How do you think your child will say no to somebody who is a family friend who wants to molest them? They won't. Because you've already created a system, all right? Created a system that they cannot say no to an adult. It's disempowering to teach that. Establish more specific terms for the reproductive organs. I have put in that book the strategies how you can teach them. Teach on them gender confusion. At this stage, you need to establish the conversation on the difference between male and female, making emphasis on your family values. Then start conversation on LGBTQIA, 2X, 2 spirit, according to them. And establish your family values on these conversations. Establish a system for making friends in your home. Friendship conversation is sex conversation. Stop telling your children that peer pressure. Your children must be pressured by their peers. Must. So stop saying, oh, you go to classes, they tell you, let me teach you how to make your children not to be pressured by their peers. They will be pressured. The question will be by who? The question will be by who? That's the conversation of the day. Your child will be pressured. Your child will be influenced. We are all products of influence. All right? The book is very explanatory, okay? I'm just trying to put, idea, put this together, okay? You can ask casual questions about your friend, establish values about friend, establish the relationship between peer influence and sex-based decisions. Peer influence and sex-based decision. So stop teaching your children you don't need friends. It's wrong. It's disempowering. Very disempowering. Because teenagers have a need for social connection. Every human being has a need for social connection. I was teaching the parents in the inner circle how to make friends. I taught them a class on teaching their children how to make friends. So many of the things you read out there would actually disempower your child. Instead, all right, very key. Introduce a process of self-leadership, values and principles and vision. All right, I stated how you can do that. For ages 7 to 12, please permit us, we're going to take a few minutes after 10 to be able to just finish through, okay? And that will not be more than 15 minutes, all right? From ages 7 to 12, prepare your child for puberty ahead of the time for physical changes in both male and female. To teach your children what the body will undergo, how they'll manage these changes, puberty starts at 7. There's something that we call pre-pubertal stage. Pre-pubertal stage. And pre-pubertal stage is not, you can't see anything. So you can't see the breast, you can't see anything developing and all, but the child is already going through puberty. So you need to teach your child about that. Get a book, get the Walking Your Child Through Puberty. It's going to help you. There are guides step by step on how you can walk your child, through puberty. The next one is that you need to conceptualize the reproductive system. Talk about the birth process at this age. It was at 10 that my daughter asked me what are contraceptives. And I asked, where did you get that from? That was my own law of first mention. That's when I realized it. And when I kept telling her about contraception, she said, no, that's not what she heard. The law of first mention can work against you. And luckily for me, I have a very solid connection with my daughter. And I was able to, put all of that into perspective. Start conversations on the mechanisms of sex. So even if you've missed it, you can start learning now. All right. I'm not perfect. I've had my own share of what had happened to me as I'm coming on this journey. That's why if you're starting, if your child is just 0, be grateful. Very grateful. All right. All right. For those of you who want to join the inner circle, we're going to share details to you. Of course, you are going to only join for the next cohort. Now, add direction and further awareness regarding the concept of pornography, masturbation. Don't shy away from these topics. Do you know that when I'm going to be sharing with you on Friday, sex conversation is a faculty of you. I'm going to be sharing with you the difference between male and female and how the awareness, masturbation, how the testosterone is actually moves a male child to masturbate. It's science. I have a medical background. And whenever I share, I like to share from science and from medicine. It helps you to understand why you should not be, fighting. Parenting is not you war with knowledge. You war with knowledge because parenting is not, for loafers. So I said you need to conceptualize the reproductive organ, explain what egg means, what semen is, what sperm, what menstruation is. My daughter was going to write an exam on the reproductive organ, and I asked her how it was. She said, I didn't even need to read. It was so simple. You already taught me all of that. All right. So you can start conceptualizing the reproductive system. Okay. Start conversation on the mechanism. Then add further direction regarding the concept of pornography. I shared that. All right. And I also shared what you need to do. You need to make references to marriages being between men and women. But you need to also start telling them that people don't follow the same route. There are people who will not follow marriages between men and women. All right. You need to connect more with your child to be the first source of information at this age. Create a one-on-one dating structure with your child. Create a structured system where you connect. See, all of these things I'm sharing can be pretty very much overwhelming if you do not have a system of accountability that helps you. That's the truth. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm going to give you all of the information that you need, every single one of it. But trust me, if you do not have a system of accountability, it becomes difficult to actually really follow through. And the sex educate your child like a pro. All right, we're going to, put all of that. We're not going to be able to do an accountability system. We only do accountability in, the academy. Reinforce privacy. At this stage, you also reinforce the conversation about friends. There's something I say about, friends. And when parents come, they tell teenagers, you don't need to have friends. Just go. All of these things, that they share about friends. You need to be on your own. When you share that with your teenager, you even erode their self-concept further. All right. So part of the things that you need to teach your teenager is how and why they must create a circle. A group. Teenagers thrive with circles. That's the truth. That's why a teenager feels out of place when they're not part of a gang, in quotes. And then the parents will tell them, must you join them? Must you join them? You disempower the child when you do all of that. 12 to 18, which is the last part. All right? Which is the last part. refer to the previous sessions. At this stage, you should start presenting the biology of reproduction, discussing intercourse, talking about STIs, reviewing all of the previous stages and information. And let me say this, it's also very important that when you're parenting your female, your friends and the people in your environment are also in the same journey. I have all my friends, all my close friends are right here, siblings, close friends, whoever, right here watching me. Because for me, one of the things that I do is that as I'm going through the process, I recognize that the people in the circle of influence of my child becomes really key. Now, when your child gets to this age, 10 to 12, and above, you become the less influential person. You go on the fourth floor. That's what we call it. So you come from first floor to fourth floor. First floor, before you were the most influential person. But when they get to that age, their peers become the most influential person. Then the other adults, then pop culture, and then you. So who will be that other adult that will be in your child's life? They will make a lot of difference. They will make a lot of decisions. Did you intentionally build a system that will help them? Start conversations that go beyond mere biology and teach the positive relational aspect of marital sexuality. Teach procreation, teach family union, share sexual, talk about sexual pleasure, lifelong bonding, and all of that. This is where you begin to teach the children how oxytocin and testosterone, how they work, and how the bonding system when you have sex with people. This is where you are going to be doing that. All right. All of these are in the book I'm going to share with you. Normalize conversations on self-esteem struggles, self-sabotaging, self-doubt, self-expressions, sexual attraction confusion. At this stage, your child can get, confused about sexual attractions. If you are over there shouting, binding, and casting, you will lose the child because the child will be confused. You will not be able to help the child conceptualize a lot of these things. Create opportunities to teach the struggle. Teach them that these struggles are normal. All right. Teach them that these struggles are normal. Teach them, that it's okay, that failure is not final. Refer to LGBT conversations. Very important. Normalize self-control issues, struggles. Create ways to teach them intentionally, especially for boys. You need to continue to practice games that teaches self-control. Puzzles, Scrabble. So when you get into the inner circle again, there's no parent, if you are in the inner circle, your child does not do puzzle. There's something wrong. So there are things that you would craft, you will make a budget to be able to parent in the way that you should parent. Puzzles are key to be able to help your son with self-control. So the kind of game your child is playing is also very key, because without self-control, the child cannot have, you can't have, especially a son, you can't really make progress, because a son is made of, self control, all right, and all of that. Then you have set clear boundaries on dating and social, sexual values at this stage. Let there be a clear boundary for dating. Very important. Clear boundary for dating. And part of what we have something called the parenting plan, the launch plan in the inner circle. And part of what we've created is the dating plan. There's a plan. So your child is not confused. The child is not confused. We're telling the child that I have gone to full-blown raising a child to an adult who is now married. You're right, I have a foster daughter. So I understand all of the stages and all of the challenges that come with it. And then working with thousands of parents have given me so much experience to be able to actually share this with you. All right. You need to set clear boundaries on dating, other social and sexual, values in the culture. Ask your child what they hear, the things they believe. Begin to talk about date rapes. Begin to talk about, empathy. You can't shy away from these things. You just cannot. They are very valid. You just cannot even assume them, okay? And that book, I finished writing it, the planner, and I said, anybody who is outside of the inner circle will never find this useful, because it's a parenting launch plan for 0 to 18. Again, I say to you, there is a manual. Your manual will be dependent on what you know. Some are structured, some are not structured, but we are all parenting with a manual. All right. Reestablish how to react and deal with feelings. You need to, reestablish how to react and deal with feelings. You need to emphasize character. You need to emphasize character and identity as a motivation for sexual decision making. So if you do not raise a child who can make decisions on their own, you would not be able to teach this conversation the way it should be, taught. So instead of don't have sex because it's unsafe, that's trap. You're telling your child don't have sex because it's unsafe. What is that? Because teenagers try on safety. They like the things that are unsafe. Teenagers try, you know what you say? Teenagers try on safety. Talk about it. Once you say it's unsafe, that's where they go. So you need to find ways to actually begin to emphasize on character, identity as a motivation for sexual decision. Not a motivation, that's not how you make decisions for sex, safe sex or sex or not. Find ways to reassure your child to be honest with you by acknowledging how difficult honesty can get. Let them know that you're there to help. Sometimes I tell my son, I say, I know this is really hard to be honest about, right? He will say, yes, mom. And can you really, just think about it and think of how you can honestly have the conversation. He thinks that you must be able to recognize that. Reassure your child that how they feel about the opposite sex is not a bad thing. Nor is it something to be ashamed of. It's not. Your child is not. Why is being liking somebody a bad thing? No, it's not a bad thing. You must reassure your child. Teach strategies like redirection, refocusing, and practicing self-control to be able to deal with feelings as regards the opposite sex. Part of what we find is that when a child is having a feeling about the opposite sex, we shut it down. We tell them, why will you feel that? They don't even come to us with such feelings. Your 12-year-old feels sexual. Your 10-year-old, yes, trust me, is there. Puberty actually activates the sexual hormones. It's scary for you to know. But you know that thing, when your teenage boy is always saying, I'm hungry, I'm starving. That I'm starving, there's also I'm starving for sex in it. That's what biology is. That's science, really. So you need to help your child to refocus, all right? Refocus, all of these teachings. Stop saying, oh, why must you feel like that? What are you thinking? They will think it. Studies said that the average man thinks sex twice in an hour, including boys. They will think it. So all of this, you trying to do, I'm just, perfect. I just want to, it's there. You can run away from it. The more knowledgeable you are as a parent, the better it is for you. For older teens, you need to, for older teens like 18, and they're already on social media, participate in their social media. Allow them, watch out for teachable moments, all right? From their posts, from their interactions, know what it is that you need to put in and how you can have conversations with them. When our foster daughter went on social media, I will look out for the things that are posting, her reply, her response. Sometimes I bring it up and I will say, oh, that conversation that was had the other day, what do you think? I will have conversations on that. She went on social media by the time she was 20. And trust me, one of the things that we also helped her do was to go on social media with an idea. So social media was a place to amplify her idea. She works with children, deaf and the dumb. She hosts the biggest inter-heart sports in Nigeria for the dumb. She does that annually. So she went on social media with an idea. That's part of our media plan, that our children are going to go on social media with an idea, with something to share, not just to loaf around. All right? Reaffirm the ability to say no at this stage. You need to continue to gag the using decision-making process in your home and outside of your home. How can your child, say, can they say no to you? A child who can't say no to you will not be able to say no to anyone outside. It starts in the home. Address the misuse of people as sexual objects. At this stage, you can start teaching them on human trafficking. You can start teaching them on existence of sex industry. See, the pornography industry is one of the biggest money-making industry. It makes 3 times more money than the football clubs. So trust me, the people that are actually running those industries are not going to leave it for you to just, do your own thing and all of that. No, they won't. So watch documentaries with them. Read a book with a character affected by human trafficking or sexual abuse. You can look out for movies that highlight global problem of human trafficking, how it can be reduced and what can be done. And then the last one, you need to reassure the teaching of grace and restoration in the case of mistakes or poor choices. You need to use life examples. You need to use life examples to share timing for sex and also what to be done when mistakes are made. Never, ever demonize. Never, ever demonize mistakes. They're not. Always reassure your child that mistakes are not final. That way, your child will make a mistake and they will be able to come to you. I remember raising a 20-something-year-old who was in the university and had made a mess. And when she was asked that who would you want to call? It was a private university. And she said, I want to speak to my dad. At this time, he's the only one that would understand, what it is and what it means for me to actually do that. All right, on what it means for me to actually, share what have happened to me. Will your child be able to come to you when they make mistakes? So the child still didn't. It's not like she became useless at the end of the day. She still came out tops of her class, still doing well, still, well behaved. So mistakes are a rider. I share in the inner circle and I say that failure is a tool in parenting. If you're not able to use failure as a tool in parenting, then you will fail indeed. When you fail, so this journey is not a journey to perfection, it's a journey to intentionality. The more intentional you are, the more we are able to actually put a lot of things in failure, in perspective. So if you fail today and you're not able to use your failure as something that will propel you, then you have actually really failed. And of course, in that planner, you also have the 30 days sex conversation template, where we have put in a 1 to 30 days of what you can say and how you can say it with your child using the guide that we have shared earlier. The team is working on this template and they will share it with you by tomorrow, all right, before the sessions. One of the things I want you take homes, I want you to do today is that number one, I want you to go and create a family value system. Go to our store. We're going to share our store link. And we're going to be sharing with you so that you can go and get the family value guide and the media plan. Begin to create that structure in your home first. All right. This is very important. And I also want to tell you that the more parents know about what is happening, the more parents understand that there is a knowledge like this, the more it helps you and I. Part of what I do is because I want my children, I got my children's, school teachers to also be on this listening. It's very important to me because everybody in the circle of influence of my child, I want them to be able to learn because I am not the only influence for my child. And if you think that you are the only one that is going to raise your child with the knowledge you have, then you have failed already because you are too small to raise a full human being. There's a lot of influences that is also beyond you. But you know the good news, you can structure that influence to help you. I also encourage you to share your learnings today, the quotes, your moments, and share them on social media, share them in our community. Let more people understand and know what's happening. And then, talk about it. Talk about sex, educate your child like a pro. And thank you so much. And for those of you who are asking about the inner circle details, we will share with you also so that you will be able to also have the details to book a slot to join the inner circle. Joining the inner circle today, all right, means that you're just booking a slot. We already have 500 plus parents who have booked a slot to be in the inner circle for 2023, starting for December the 1st. All right, all of the details will be available to you. We currently have over 1,000 parents across all of the levels. And thank you so much for being here, all right, and also coming here with me. And I will take all of your questions right in the conversation room, or I will collect the questions by tomorrow. We will answer all of your questions as one so that we don't make it chaotic. We are dealing with over 3,000 parents. So, of course, believe you me, we want to make this very all put together. We also do not want the community, the group conversation to be full of, many things that are just, everywhere. Please be discreet about sharing things, all right? When I mean discreet, don't share things that are not about the conversation that we're having, all right? If you want to book a one-on-one session, you want to go further, send a chat to the team and, they would have you. Thank you so much. And I know that you have, you have, been here and you have also gotten a lot of value for your money. All right. And I also want to repeat again, parenting isn't for loafers. If you're going to parent, then you want to put in thoughts to it. And again, thank you to my friend Lucy, Marketed Lucy, for that quote. It's been ringing in my head, for such a long time. And thank you so much, for all of this. I built this curriculum from a lot of insight from the parents in the inner circle. So I want to say thank you to them. Shout out to them. They're amazing. Tomorrow we meet again at 10 o'clock, where Ebuka will be sharing about masturbation, pornography, and the LGBT confusion. All right, you want to be there. Coach Ebuka is something. He's also a product of the inner circle. You want to be there and you want to, be listening. So if you got value, let me see you share the fire emojis right in the comment section. And let me see you hit that like button now. Thank you so much for your time. I really do appreciate you.
My name is Ebuka Ede. I'm a husband, I'm a father, and I'm a member of the Inner Circle of the Intentional Parents Academy. TIP Inner Circle has been one of the best things that's happened to me. I have a daughter of 3. I have foster sons, that are in their teenage age, and even those that are above the teenage age. When I joined TIP last year, my daughter was still 2, and then my foster son, it was really tasking as I had a lot of things to do, my schedules, it was really clashing. At some point I was like, can I go on? Can I continue? I was like, okay, maybe I'll suspend it for another year. And I was just in the midst of that confusion last year. And when I came into one of the sessions one day, I haven't told Coach about it, and I can't remember what she said. I remember one of those sessions, after I had that thought, Coach was talking about having time. She kept saying, I have time to parent my children. I have time. It hit me. And I felt God was talking to me. And I told myself, I kept saying throughout that session, I have time. I have time to parent my children. I have time to parent my children. And I'm going to take this up. And one major lesson that I learned at the Inner Circle is that parenting is first about you. And I am first a father. Before I'm even a boys coach, and that is what God is going to really ask or require of me. How have I been able to raise my own children? I became intentional, attending classes, learning, equipping myself. I drew a structure. I was working with a structure, and that was one of the things we learned at Inner Circle, having a structure that works, having an effective structure, knowing that this time is allocated, these things are important, and I could see it playing out in my life and the way I raise my children. Last week, my wife told me, wow, I really love the way you parent, our children. I can see results, I can see transformation in their life. In fact, she said, I need to join TIP immediately, Inner Circle immediately, because I can see it working. Even before your child is born, you need to start learning. Even while you are married or even preparing for, you need to start learning. As a toddler, I learned a lot in connecting. I could see that in my daughter. She can connect, she can speak, she can identify her body parts, she knows what to do, she knows when somebody is going beyond boundaries. She herself understands boundaries. She knows that, adult phones are for adults. Hearing the voice of Coach Wendy, the bishop, every day, just like God is speaking, the arrows just keep coming, and you are just awakening. Every session is an awakening for me. And people just tell me, how do you relate with this voice so easily? I just smile, and I know that what I'm learning from TIP is in sex conversation, is in connecting, is in building relevant skills. You could see the result practically in my children. You could see it even playing out in my own marriage. Just helps everything, realign everything about you. And for me, I keep saying, Inner Circle is one of the best things that has happened to me. When I see the testimonies at TIP, I'm like, wow, I'm a living testimony. I keep saying we need to compile a book of our testimonials, and let the world see the transformation that we need. If every parent is in TIP As in the transformation we need in the world will just happen to us if we are ready to do the work. I'm having a beautiful family, a beautiful home because I'm open to learning despite all that I know. And I want to implore every father here, we need you at the inner circle. Sometimes I wish every father can just be part of what is happening at the inner circle, because it's a 360 turnaround, knowing where you need to be involved and how, the tools, and there is no way you will practice these tools and not see results. It's not possible. No, it's no matter. It's not possible. You must see results. And the crisis we're having at home, the disconnection of children with fathers, a lot of women are doing everything on their own. And it's just so beautiful when both partners work together to ensure that the children are raised. There's just a difference. I implore every father to be part of this, to do all you can to be in this. You will thank me later and say, thank you, that coach, for helping me join. That's why I'm a coach. I'm training everybody. I'm learning because I cannot fail as a parent because I'm a coach. Thank you, Coach Wendy. Thank you, TIP. Thank you, Inner Circle. Thank you, fathers that are listening to me. And I want to see you at the TIP, at the Inner Circle next year. I want it to be a harvest of fathers because we are rising up to make the change. Thank you.